in terms of its growing medium, I would definitely go with orchid mix. What am I talking about? Brain fart. Hey guys, welcome back. I've got a really cool bromeliad to talk to you about today. It's called Aechmea correia-araujoi. Now, this, honestly, I have to admit, this is a plant that I constantly confuse with Hohenbergia correia-araujoi because they have the same species name. So if you have ever seen me speak absent-mindedly, both in person or on one of my videos, please just make sure that I'm not talking about one or the other, because I don't know why I do this, but I interchange the two quite often. Okay, so Aechmea correia-araujoi. Let's get into it. I'm just using my area where I'm building because there's plenty of sunlight here to actually just show you what the plant looks like in its full glory. This is Aechmea correia-araujoi. Now it's named in honor of a guy which I believe was a bromeliad collector himself and also a photographer called Louise Knut correia-araujoi. Notice I'm saying araujoi, but when you look at the word, it says it. Well, I mean, if you're English speaking, it sounds like it's saying araujoi. It's actually pronounced araujoi because the J is pronounced as an H. Okay, this plant is native to the pluvial forests of the state of Bahia in Brazil. So it's a rainforest plant. Let me just pick it up and show you. A bit of a shitty background, sorry guys, but this is the plant. It's really, really stunning. And you can see that this one is actually in a clay pot and is growing. It should be growing epiphytically. I've got a little one that I've now put outside because my trees are old enough to actually mount it as an epiphyte. It is a very beautiful plant, often mistaken for Aechmea orlandiana, but very different at the same time. So let's just take a look at another one that I've got, which is actually in flower currently, and we can talk more about its growth care and culture. Here I've got another plant. Okay, so here just as a point of interest, you'll see that this is the original mother plant, right? And here's the inflorescence. And the inflorescence moves and moves and moves and moves, and eventually it comes all the way out to here. So this is quite long, as you can see, right? And then it's got these beautiful bracts. The bracts are now beginning to fade because the plant is already pretty much, it's done flowering. So when it is actually in flower, you'll notice a lot more intensely colored petals, and also the bracts are a lot more orange and red rather than this faded color that you see here. But the plant has been going for quite a while. This flower has actually been going for quite a while. So from here on out, it's going to start producing some seed. Okay, cool. Now, something else that's interesting about it is, remember I said it was epiphytic. So for those of you who don't know what epiphyte means, epi means on and phyte means plant. So literally that means on plant. So this means that this particular species of bromeliad, or any epiphytic bromeliad, basically grows on other plants. And then you have different versions of that. Saxicolous, which means growing on rocks, etc., that sort of thing. Okay, so this one here, if I just turn this around, you'll see that I started it off in the black pot. Okay, it's very unstable because it just constantly wants to fall over, so I'm just going to hold my hand there. It started off in this black pot and then bloomed, and then it jumped into mid-air and it produced this pup here, which is now maturing, and I imagine will probably flower with the next growing season. And then it jumped again into the pot with the begonia in it, and then it did another jump in between the two pots right there, and you can see that along the side here where my finger is sort of tapping, that's where the plant is now trying to attach itself to the outside of the pot. okay, which is just awesome. I mean, how cool is that? So this is why this plant is considered epiphytic, because it is an epiphyte. Now let me just put it back the way that it was, so I don't need to hold it all the time. Okay, and then what you will notice here is that it has these brown stalks, right, that connect two plants together. There's the one plant. Here it's got another stalk that connects to this plant here, and then from there it has produced another stalk which goes down there, and you can see the little roots over there trying to attach to the side of the pot. Okay, now these stalks are actually known as stolons. So this plant, this bromeliad, is known as a stoloniferous bromeliad. Now most bromeliads, a lot of them produce stolons, and the stolons are basically sort of, in this case, almost like cane, very fibrous, and initially it is used to transport nutrients to the young plant that is busy developing, and also provides a space for root development as the plant finds its new home in the tree, you know, as it sort of basically what will I'll take you outside there. Yeah, I'll take you outside to the one that is actually growing epiphytically. Remember I said that it also looks very similar to Aechmea orlandiana. Now the Orlandiana alliance is very big, and there are many different varieties of that plant, but there's a very big difference. They look very similar. You'll see that they all have the notches on the tips of the leaves, okay? And here you can see that it almost looks as though there is a pattern on the surface of the leaf, right? There is a pattern right there, but it's actually on the underside. So that's actually where the pattern's at. The patterns are all on the ventral surface of the leaf. Not all the time. There are some instances where the plant does produce color on the dorsal, on the upper surface of the leaf, but it's generally on the underside. Okay, now let's take a look at Aechmea orlandiana, and I'll show you the difference. So, though a lot of people think that they are similar, to me yeah, kind of similar, but very different at the same time. So this plant here is Aechmea orlandiana, okay? So you can see those same, all very similar sort of markings on the underside, okay? But you'll see that the plant also has markings on the upper surface, and they also are extremely varied with respect to their colors. So yeah, this is also an epiphyte. Now I want to show you the young Aechmea correia-araujoi, which I have growing on a young tree. My first mounted correia-araujoi in this garden. This is a younger plant, so this is still a pup, but it is pupping on its own as well, and it is rooted to this. If I just give it a wiggle like that, you can see that it's rooted. It's not fully rooted yet, as you can see that it's still attached with some wire. Now the plant is producing a pup, a stoloniferous pup right there, okay? And once the pup turns upright and it begins to open and grow up, you'll see some roots actually laying down, and the plant will actually root itself down fully. Okay, so definitely this plant is an epiphyte. Remember, definitely an epiphyte. If you want to grow this plant at your house or in your garden, then I would definitely highly suggest that you mount it. Okay, it really is happy, as is orlandiana, which is right up there. There's some orlandiana starting off over there. It really is a very happy chappy when you put it into a tree. So keep that in mind when you do decide to get hold of one of these guys. In terms of growth conditions, growth care and culture. There it is. See it right here? Okay, in terms of growth care and culture, if you do decide to grow this plant, grow it as an epiphyte. Do not struggle with pots and things like that, because you see the pots that I just showed you, they become sort of top heavy, they fall over all the time. You really need like a firmly like a heavy based pot, like clay with a really heavy base. Perhaps put a brick or something in the bottom of it, but it just doesn't work. Just mount it. If you can afford to mount it to a piece of wood or a tree. If you don't have trees, do a piece of wood or whatever. Keep in mind that it is a bromeliad and they don't like copper, so avoid treated wood. I repeat, avoid treated wood, because this will kill your plant or harm it in some way. If you are going to pot it and you really do want to pot it, totally fine, as I have done when I didn't have trees. What I would suggest you do is get a very lightweight potting mix, something that you would use for an orchid. So I would go with, well, orchid mix, perlite, vermiculite, and perhaps some cocoa chip would be good as well. But make sure that it's free draining and rich in organic matter. And then also add a controlled release fertilizer to that. You could also feed it with fertilizer at half strength, the recommended dose, as is normal for bromeliads, and yeah, then you'll be good. What is that? Sounds like a monkey or something. Guys, I think I'm not alone. No, I'm kidding. I think I'm not alone. No, it's a monkey. I saw him earlier. So yeah. That is Aechmea correia-araujoi, named in honor of who? That's right, Louise Knut Correia-araujoi. Okay? Not Araujoi. So next time you go and you order jalapeno peppers, do not say jalapenos. Just say jalapenos or jalapenos. You don't need to say jalapenos, please don't do that. Okay, well, that's it for this episode, and I hope that you learnt a lot from it, and yeah, that it will help you. And if you really want to get hold of one of these, just look around. They're not always very easy to find, but they are really useful. And, well, not useful, they're just, yeah, they're useful. They're just beautiful to have in your collection. So, yeah, go catch them all. Pokemon. Bye.